Hi everyone, Jamie Kubota here from San Jose State Department of Nutrition, Food Science and Packaging. And today we're going to be making a sheet pan roasted salmon and asparagus with couscous and a mango salsa. So I'm going to jump right in. First thing we're going to do is get our salmon and our asparagus in the oven. It takes about 10 minutes to cook. While that's cooking, we'll finish everything else up, plate, and be done with our demo. So starting with our asparagus, got nice asparagus here. It's pretty young and thin, so don't need to do much to it other than take the ends off. So I can cut it or you can snap it. Either way, it's just faster to take all those ends off all at once. So that's ready to go. I'm going to put that onto my sheet tray on one side of my sheet tray. And then I'm going to place my salmon on the other side of my sheet tray. And the nice thing about these two things, salmon and asparagus, cooking them together is that they cook in the same amount of time. So in a 400-degree oven, they're both going to cook in about 10 minutes. So they're perfect partners for a sheet pan dinner. I've got some nice wild coho salmon here. We're just going to season this. So this needs just a drizzle of olive oil on both. So I've got a teaspoon of olive oil. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on my salmon, just a drizzle. You see that that's really just a very small drizzle. It's just going to help to keep it moist in the oven, and then a drizzle over my veggies. And I'll just toss those together so that they all get coated in the olive oil. And it doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to worry too much, just a little toss. And then we're going to spread those out in kind of an even layer. Rub the salmon, the oil onto the salmon. And then we're going to put a little bit of our DIY seasoning mix over everything. So I've got some of my DIY seasoning mix, and I think we've made some in class in the presentation, and those recipes are available for you. So this one is just an all-purpose seasoning mix, but it's going to add a lot of flavor without adding any extra salt. So there we go, a nice little sprinkle over both the salmon and asparagus. I'm going to put that in the oven for 10 minutes. So I set my timer for 10 minutes, and now I'm going to start my couscous. So I have some vegetable broth. This is low sodium vegetable broth, and it's already at a boil. And all I need to do is throw in my couscous. The reason couscous is so fun to add into meals like this, especially ones that you're making quick and fast, is because it cooks so quickly. So this is couscous if you haven't seen it. It looks like little grains, even almost of cornmeal, but it's actually pasta. So this is little grains of pasta. This is regular couscous because that's what I had in my pantry. The recipe calls for whole wheat couscous because then you get that whole grain. So if you can find it, whole grain couscous is great. So all we need to do is stir this into our broth that is boiling, or you can use water. I'm going to give it a little stir, just a little shake so that it's evenly coated. Put the lid on and actually turn that off. 5 minutes for regular couscous, it's going to be done. Just fluff it with a fork and ready to go. 10 minutes or so for a whole wheat couscous. So that's quick and easy, ready to go. So the next thing we need to take care of then is our mango salsa. We're going to make mango salsa today. Mango salsa is one of my favorite things. Mangoes are something, in California that we can get pretty much year round. And right now they're beautiful. So mango is an amazing fruit to play with. But, we're also at the tail end of nectarine season, peach season. So you could sub out another fruit for the mango in the salsa if you wanted to. So you could certainly do nectarines or peaches. Working with mangoes are a little bit tricky to cut, but you can see, looking at this mango, right, I've got kind of an oval shape, but it's also thinner this way. And what's going on here is that there's a pit that runs right through that, and it runs right through the center of that fruit. So what I have to do is get this off of that pit in order to cut it. So what I typically do is cut a little piece off the bottom, and that's going to allow me a flat surface. And then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to work my way around that pit. So I'm just going to cut, knowing that there's a pit, your knife will feel it. And you can kind of just work your knife alongside that pit. And I've got a nice piece of mango there and then the pit here. So I can do the same thing on the other side. Just going to cut and kind of let my knife fall against that pit. And then I have this piece left. So I can handle these two separately, but I also have a nice bit of mango left here. So typically what I do then is I take my knife and I use it to very carefully just peel the skin away. Just kind of run it like this on the cutting board. And I'm taking the skin off. And so here's what I'm left with. And this you can cut right along the pit again and cut off a nice piece of mango that we can then dice up. This you can peel off a little bit more. It's also a nice little treat for the cook. So sorry, let me let the dogs out. Let me let the dogs out. Sorry. So yeah, this becomes a nice little treat or snack. And I've got some pieces of mango to deal with here. On this side, this is a big mango. This was kind of a jumbo mango. So I'll cut up half of it for our demo here. What I then do is cut this kind of into strips that I can then peel away. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to very carefully just run my knife along there and take that peel off. And then I can dice these pieces. I'm going to do the same thing with these other two pieces. And then, so here's where you want to be careful. Just go slowly on this because mangoes can be a little bit slippery. But I'm going to cut this ready for dicing. Voila. Okay. If there's any little bits of peel, you can get those off as well. So that's ready to go. And then to dice this, I've kind of got a flat surface here. So I'm going to just cut this into strips like that and then lay those down. And I'm going to again cut them into little strips so that what I'm going to end up with when I cut these, again, going the opposite direction, is little dice or little squares of mango for my salsa. There we go. So I've got some nice diced mango. Whoops, let me get those pieces out so I can dice those as well. This was a nice mango. You can see that it's really pretty. It's brightly orange. It's got, it's ripe. It's ready to go. It's also a little bit tart though. That's what's nice about mango. So that kind of that tartness is nice to serve alongside savory foods. Love, love, love mango. So we're using this with salmon, but you could certainly use this as a snack, serve it with some baked tortilla chips or some no salt tortilla chips. It would be delicious. It would make a nice little topping for a fish taco. Take a little piece of grilled fish in a corn tortilla with a little bit of mango salsa, maybe a slice or two of avocado. You've got a nice little fish taco with mango salsa. That would be delicious as well. I like this just like on a grain bowl. I might just put some mango salsa on some quinoa or whatever other grain I happen to have. And I might top it with a little bit of non-fat Greek yogurt, some avocado, and have just kind of a vegetarian grain bowl. Lots you can do with this salsa. So any place you'd use salsa, you can certainly use this salsa. And we are almost done here. I'm going to finish up this mango. Last little bit. And I've got one little piece with skin. We'll get rid of that. And we'll add this into our bowl. And I'm going to check our timer. We've got 3 minutes left. Perfect timing. Okay. So here is mango. that was an extra large mango. So even though I only did half of it, I've got a good bit there. I'm going to go ahead and add in my red pepper. So I've got diced red pepper here. And I called for about a 1/4 cup. And about a 1/4 cup of finely diced red onion. About a 1/4 cup of chopped cilantro. I happen to love cilantro, so I'm using it here. If you're one of those people that doesn't love cilantro, and there are people that don't like it so much, you could certainly leave it out. You can replace it with parsley. That would be nice because it's really nice to have that vibrant green color, or maybe a little bit of basil. Fresh basil would be delicious here as well. So really you can use this as a template. Okay, so we're mixing those all together. And then this is going to get some lime juice. So that lime juice is that pop of acid that's really going to brighten things up. We've already got some, tart mango, sweet tart mango, but the lime juice is really going to brighten things up as well. We'll see if that's enough lime juice. And then secret ingredient in this is sesame oil. So I'm going to put in a little bit, like a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. Toasted sesame oil adds a lot of flavor. It's a really kind of a strong flavor, so you don't need a lot of it. About a teaspoon is going to be great here. And I'm just eyeballing it, but you could measure that certainly. Okay. And we'll stir that up. I like the toasted sesame oil. We call this salsa, but it gives it a little bit of an Asian profile. So it's a little different than your typical salsa, which is kind of nice to have, different versions of all these foods so you don't get tired of any one particular thing, although this may become your favorite and you may use it quite a bit. So I've got a beautiful color here, really pretty and vibrant. I can smell it. The toasted sesame oil really smells lovely in there. I'm just going to taste it and see if I want to add any more lime to this, because I only added about half a lime there. So I might want a little more lime. It's delicious. I am going to add a little bit more lime. When you're not using salt, you want to bump up the other components. So things like a little bit more acid, a little bit more of your herbs and spices to really give you a lot of flavor. So you'll want to taste things as you're moving along. And I might even go, so that's our timer for our salmon. Let me check it. Yep, it is done. And maybe even a little past done at the 10-minute mark, because those pieces of salmon, it was the tail end. They were a little bit thinner than the center cut pieces of the salmon. So they might have actually been done in about 8 minutes, but they're still going to be delicious. With all those other flavors on top, I am certain it's going to be delicious. Our couscous should be done. I'm going to take the lid off of there, and it is done. So let me just show you that. Here's our couscous, and all we have to do, let me get a clean fork, all we have to do is fluff that up. And our couscous is done as well. You can see it's nice and fluffy. So typically you'd set a timer for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you take the lid off, give it a good fluff, and you're good to go. So I have my couscous, I have my mango salsa. I'm going to just plate this up for you guys so you can see what this looks like on the plate. So here's our dinner plate, and I'm going to do a nice spoonful of the couscous in the center of the plate. That's about half a cup. I'm going to go with about 3/4 of a cup for my grain. And then I'm going to pull off a piece of that salmon. And I'm going to plate a nice piece of salmon here. So I've got my grain, I've got my protein, looking delicious. And I'm also going to load up with some asparagus. And then I'm going to top it off with our mango salsa. So what I love about this is it really does resemble the My Plate guidelines, right? Look at this. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I have quarter of my plate with a nice grain, a quarter of my plate with a nice lean cut of meat, in this case fish, which is even better. And I have all those omega-3s from my nice piece of wild salmon. I've got half my plate essentially here with asparagus and other fruits and vegetables from my mango salsa. So here you go. Sheet pan salmon and asparagus with couscous and mango salsa. Hope you guys enjoy.